Knicks deserve a lot of love on this Monday morning following their 106-100 victory over the Los Angeles Clippers yesterday. It was fantastic. No Quickly, no Alec Burks, not an issue. You don't even get a superlative offensive performance from Julius Randle, and you still win on the road in Los Angeles after losses to Denver, after getting throttled in the second half by the Phoenix Suns. You could bounce back on Sunday afternoon with a hell of a victory over the Clippers, and it was a great overall team win. Defense was fantastic. Derrick Rose with the 25 points off of the bench. Bullock was great draining the threes. He finished with 24. Barrett with the 18. You know, it just it shows you about this team, and what it also shows you about this team is, number one, the ability to bury bad losses and snap that 2-game losing streak that they were on. They're now 3-2 on this road trip. They got one more game to go against the Los Angeles Lakers. They're one game up on both the Heat and the Hawks for the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yep.
And it's not a matter of now saying, well, is this team for real? Yes, they are real. I mean, they are legit. We've been saying it now for quite some time. Enjoy it, Knicks fans. I'm certainly am. And it was the best win of the year. You know, in game 68 of the regular season, the Knicks on Sunday had their best victory of the year, and gives you a lot of confidence about, you know, winning a playoff round for sure, being kind of a thorn in the side of maybe one of the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, you know, in the next round, which looks like it's going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. With that being said, you got to love where this team is. I love the fact that Thibodeau, you know, bounced, you know, clapped back at Mark Berman about the question about, you know, Julius Randle. Love the fact that Julius Randle had Derrick Rose's back after the Berman question as well about whether or not he should be a starter. He's coming off the bench. Rose said, I don't care about the minutes. I don't care what role I'm playing. He finished with 25. He has complete and utter trust in his head coach and Tom Thibodeau. There's nothing not to like about this group. They're really fun to watch, and everybody's got each other's backs.
Well, the bigger clapback was not against any reporter. It was with Chris Paul and Tom Thibodeau getting into it on Friday night, which is something that is always kind of entertaining. But I think you can't even talk about how great Sunday's win was just based on the opponent and all that is fantastic. But on the heels of what you just saw in Denver, where they were blown out basically from start to finish, but then more specifically on Friday, Moose, with that loss against the Suns, because Sunday was the anti-Friday, and I'm finding new ways to be impressed by this Knicks team, because when you look at those two games kind of together, it shows you that when the Knicks have something that they lose a certain way on a Friday, they can go out and they can change that and have a direct response to how they lost on Friday and make those adjustments for a Sunday game against one of the best teams in the NBA. Like, I love the fact that, okay, you look at some of the bad things that happened on Friday night, and I know a lot of people were distracted by the whole Raccoon thing going on. That Friday night loss may have kind of slipped under the radar, it was late, all that, but you know, the Knicks got totally blown out in the fourth quarter. They allowed the Suns to score 38 points in the fourth quarter. What do they do on Sunday? Fourth quarter defense locked down. Clippers only scored 20 points in the fourth quarter. In the modern NBA, that is minuscule. You also look at the three-point shooting. How the Knicks have defended the three-point has been one of the best things so far this season. And, by the way, one thing that the experts thought they would not be able to hang on to throughout the season. They have Friday, not good. They allowed the Suns basically to hit 44% of the 42 threes that they shot that night. What do they do on Sunday? Holding the Clippers under 35% from three. Again, in the modern NBA, you'll take that all the time. And the Clippers, by the way, are one of the best three-point shooting teams in this league. Like, I love seeing that bad game on Friday. Flush the Denver game. That was just bad from the start. But bad game on Friday against the Suns, bad finish. What do? Turn it around on Sunday to give them, I'll agree with you, best win of the season and the unexpected win of the season. No doubt about it.
Yeah, no question. No question. Fair about the defense. And that's what makes this Knicks team, you know, a pain in the rear end to go up against, is the fact that they are willing defenders. And yes, they're not a complete team. They're not a finished product, and they're going to get exposed at times. And Denver exposed them. The second half, fourth quarter, they got exposed by the Phoenix Suns. Wasn't close. The Suns at one point in time, I think, went on like a 31-8 run against the Knicks. I mean, it was utterly ridiculous what they were able to do and how well they were shooting the ball from the outside. But to be able to flush it And, I didn't know what I was going to get on Sunday against the Clippers. I got to be honest with you. I didn't know. After what happened with Denver, what happened with Phoenix, I thought the Knicks obviously would play hard. It wasn't that. It was a case of where the result would lay. And at the end, their fourth quarter defense was fantastic. They got tremendous offensive performances from Rose off the bench and Bullock. Randall needed to be good when he needed to be. He only finished with 14 points, but he also contributed with 14 boards and 5 assists. The defense for this team, and that's what's really been the trademark of this group, has been, Julius Randle and offensively leading the way, an uptick in the performance in R.J. Barrett, Maggie, and really the Knicks being a willing defensive team. And sometimes catching some breaks where guys missing wide open shots. The improvement of the three-point shot by the Knicks over the last 30 games as well as a group has led to, this resurgence, led to that winning streak where they were ripping off one win after another. So it's been a lot of things where this group has gotten better. It's not a matter of, the hell with the expectations before the start of the season. Watch how this group has evolved. That's been the most impressive thing. The mental toughness, the ability to end losing streaks, continue winning streaks, but how they've evolved. You know what they are defensively, the evolution of Julius Randle individually, the evolution of R.J. Barrett, and as a group, what they've been able to do shooting the ball from the outside as well. And to win in Los Angeles against the Clippers without Quickly, without Alec Burks, I mean, that is a hell of a win against an upper echelon team, not just in the Western Conference, but in the NBA. It is an unbelievable gut check, hell of a win. They deserve to be proud. They deserve all the accolades. Knicks fans rejoicing Sunday after that victory because it was as good of a win as they've had in quite some time. They haven't won in Los Angeles against the Clippers since, 2010? I mean, it's been a long time
that
the Knicks have won in Los Angeles.
Would you like to know, November 10th, 2010, your starting five for that lineup the last time the Knicks beat the Clippers in the Staples Center? If it's just one drive home, how long ago that was? Amari Stoudemire, Danilo Gallinari, Raymond Felton, Landry Fields, and Ronnie Turioff getting a start that day. I mean, that just tells you how long ago this was. Obviously, it was pre-Carmelo trade and all that. I mean, here's the other thing, right? We talk about expectations, so let's talk about them. Let's talk about what the playoffs are going to bring here coming up. Now, teams are still jockeying for position here in seeding, but it looks like the Knicks basically need one more win and a Boston loss to avoid finishing below the 6th seed. So they're going to avoid the play-in tournament. That's all but assured, right? It's just a little, a win here, a loss there. The magic number technically is 2, but the Knicks are going to avoid the play-in tournament. Amazing. I think that if the Knicks end up facing the Atlanta Hawks, there is an expectation that the Knicks should win that series. You face the Hawks, you beat them all your 3 times this year, even under 2 different coaches for the Hawks. I think there is an expectation that if the Knicks play the Hawks in the postseason, and if they lost that series, that would be a letdown, right? Flip it. Knicks somehow get matched up with Miami Heat. Ugh. Like, that would be the one that would, I don't want to say take the wind out of the sails, because I'm not saying that the Knicks couldn't beat the Heat. They have not beaten the Heat so far this year, and I don't think anybody wants to face the Miami Heat in the first round. Obviously, this is a team that is, not totally played to their expectations, but they were in the finals a year ago, as we all know, and you never could count them out. The coaching, the pedigree of the players, just the Jimmy Butler factor in general, how he can take over games. If the Knicks play the Hawks, I think they're expected to win. If the Knicks play the Heat, even if they're the 4th seed and the Heat are the 5th seed, I think there's 0 expectations. And also, if you lost to the Heat, I don't think anyone would be upset. They would still chalk it up to great season, ahead of schedule. If you lose to the Hawks, I think you'd have a lot of disappointed Knicks fans, seeing that maybe you let one get away. You should beat Atlanta.
Yeah, I think you should beat either one. I'd be disappointed if you lose to the Heat. I'd
really?
be disappointed. Yeah, I would. I mean, I would with how this team has played, how well this season has gone. And, I harken back to a conversation we had with Brian Scalabrine where I said about this team being a fun place for free agents to land. They're winning, Thibodeau changing the culture, being attractive for free agents. And he said, well, you're putting the cart before the horse here.
Yep.
You got to win a playoff round.
He did say that.
You got to win a playoff series. So I don't think it's unfair to look at the Knicks and say, well, they'll have home court. It'll be a 4-5 matchup. I understand what Miami is. They're also 6 games over the 500 mark. If the Knicks are in that 4-5 series, say if they just fall out and they're the 5, they're not the 4, but they end up facing the Miami Heat, I think they should beat Miami. I do. I think they played more consistent. They played better basketball. I know Miami made a run last year in the bubble in Orlando to the NBA Finals where they got hit by a ton of injuries. Obviously Dragic, and they lose to the best team in the NBA and LeBron and the Los Angeles Lakers, best defensive team as well. I'd be disappointed. I think it's fair if you are a Knicks fan to put expectations that you could win a playoff round if you're the 4 seed or the 5 seed. If you're in that 4-5 matchup, I think the Knicks can win a playoff round. I think they've shown you that. I'd be disappointed if they didn't. Now, it obviously depends on how the series goes. Everything can change. I'm going on the idea that everyone stays healthy, but I think they can beat the Hawks. I think they can beat the Heat. Either of those 2 teams, if they don't win that round, I'd be disappointed as a Knicks fan for what they showed you this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I still feel, even though the Knicks have the better record than the Heat, they haven't beaten the Heat so far this year, and so I still feel like the Heat are in. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Maybe I am looking a little bit just coming what they did last year. That I'm thinking that would not be a disappointment. Losing the Hawks would be. Curious what Knicks fans think. 877-337-6666. Shams is reporting, by the way, that LeBron James is targeting Tuesday for his return to the lineup. They said, though, if not Tuesday, they're on a back-to-back, so Wednesday against Houston is also a possibility. Listen, the Knicks could catch a break here if LeBron decides to come back on against a Houston team that is absolutely awful. Maybe that's a little bit softer of a landing spot. Not that LeBron needs a soft landing spot, but maybe that's a little more appealing if you're going to play an absolutely decimated, awful Houston Rockets team, show off a little bit more, as opposed to a Knicks team that has everything to play for and is going to be up your ass defensively like the entire game. So, I don't know. Maybe LeBron will take Tuesday off and the Knicks could catch another break.
Yeah, I think it's really where that ankle is. I don't think LeBron backs down from any challenge. But yeah, it'd be best in the best interest of the Knicks if LeBron decided to play Wednesday and not Tuesday. But we'll see. Vogel did say yesterday that he was looking good in practice. The ankle has responded positively to treatment. All of those things with LeBron James, and we know he's the best player in the world. But for the Knicks, yeah, I think they've changed, obviously, the conversation about this team. It's a wonderful group. It's an unbelievable group that's got each other's backs. I think Knicks fans love the fact that this team has come out of absolutely nowhere. All the different storylines that we've talked about with this group. And, yeah, right now, I'd be disappointed as a Knicks fan if they don't win a playoff round, regardless of who that matchup is, as long as they're in the 4-5. I mean, you're talking about facing, one of the upper echelon teams. If they should fall out of that, say they ride a losing streak going into the NBA playoffs and they're no longer part of that, Maggie, then that changes the story. But if they're in that 4-5 matchup and it's the Heat or the Hawks, I think the Knicks should win a playoff round. What says you?